I think what drew me to the project the most was just the chance to work with Ritchie and, of course, Statham. But I actually think it's just the kind of movie that I've never done before. And so when they pitched it to me and they were like, it's kind of like a spy, James Bond kind of movie with a sense of humor, I was like, yes, because I've never been in an action movie before. And I thought that would be really fun. My character's name is Sarah Fidel, and she is, well, I think she's a private contractor is how you would describe her in terms of her job, but she's kind of like a tech whiz. She's the one that's kind of in Jason's ear, you know, telling him like where to go, where the bad guys are, hacking into all of the computers and but having a good time while she does it. She has a very big sense of humor about it. And I've been describing her kind of like a female James Bond kind of character, where it's like she's very, very good at her job, but she's kind of always messing around and making jokes. So you kind of think like, oh, is she really gonna be able to pull this off? And she always does, because that's what Sarah Fidel does. She saves the world while drinking wine, much like James Bond. I think my character is very competitive, and I think, you know, in the beginning of the movie, she's kind of matched with Orson Fortune, played by Jason Statham, and I think that there's a, you know, she wants to prove herself. I think she wants to prove herself. She's among all the men all the time, so she's constantly dealing with men. We know how that is. So yeah, I think she's motivated by, you know, her own ambitious drive to succeed. Something happened to her in her childhood where she was just like, I need to be number one. And even though I'm being paired with Orson Fortune, who is the best, she's like, maybe I'm the best. So I guess we'll see. But I think that's what drives her, is competition. Nathan is kind of like our boss, played by Cary Elwes. And, you know, he's kind of become the butt of all the jokes. Like, he's like daddy, you know. He's always like reprimanding us and scolding us for drinking too much expensive wine and telling us what we need to do on our mission. And I guess he's watching us from afar. I don't see him, so I don't know what he actually does. I do know that he likes to eat eggs and he likes to sleep in his jammies. And he, I think, fancies himself like a very classy man. But Orson and Sarah just poke fun at him all the time and roll their eyes at him. But they love him. Much like Cary Elwes in real life, you know? We love Cary, but we also make fun of him because it's just easy. Orson Fortune, obviously, played by Jason Statham, is the #1 private contractor, agent, secret spy, agent, killer, weapon machine, man. He's a mystery, man of mystery. Not sure what drives him. I think he just wants to go on holiday and drink expensive wine. I think he's just driven by expensive wine. And JJ is played by Bugsy Malone, and he is kind of like a shooter. He's a sniper specialist. He can, I guess, shoot anyone from far distances, and just an all-around reliable kind of guy. I think he isn't quite sure about Sarah Fidel. He's kind of looking at her like, I don't know about this woman, but I think in the end that he likes her. But he's sweet. And yeah, we're kind of like this ragtag operation. Maybe we don't do it the normal way, but we get it done in the end. We save the world because someone has to do it.
Just everyday madness, innit? Like he's making things up as he goes along, and you're just really watching an artist and a genius at work, because he stays calm under massive pressure. Like you wouldn't think he's a film director, because he's just chilling and he's just having a laugh. But when push comes to shove, he's getting the job done. So it's been interesting in that respect. I've just enjoyed the full thing. Global. Just feels big, do you know what I mean? The project just feels international, global, so big. Something like that. Just Guy Ritchie in his prime, do you know what I mean? Just flowing, do you know what I mean? Fluid, the way it's been created, it's been a fluid process. So even I'm excited to see the finished product, do you know what I mean? As an actor, you don't see every single bit of it. Oh, there's loads. I mean, I look up to Guy. So for me to be able to spend time with him and just learn from him on a daily basis, it's too many to kind of say. But the highlight for me has been being around Guy, seeing the way he works and listening to the way he thinks as a person. His kind of philosophy on life. And the steaks what he makes. He makes a banging steak. So yeah, that really. Oh, driving and acting at the same time on an extreme level. So what they asked me to do with the driving stuff was, okay then, JJ, you're gonna drive, but be on the laptop and say the lines. So Guy's actually in the back of the car telling me what to say. But obviously I'm having to keep a certain distance from the camera, and I'm having to type in passwords, and it was mad. Like it was quite dangerous, to be honest. So I'm a stuntman as well as an actor apparently. He's an up and coming guy. And he's transferred over to being like a private contractor. But before he'd done some kind of government type work, but now he's gone private, you know? So he's on the come up and he's hungry. And he's kind of new, but at the point where I kind of come into it and meet Orson, I've had experience. So people are shocked at the way I'm going on. I'm a good shot, good with dogs. And that's that. I'm the novice, I'm a good novice. Just kind of impressing the boss. So Orson's above me. So he's, you know, I'm kind of honoured to work with him, as I am in real life working with Jason. And I think that really comes across in my character, that I'm just excited to just impress and let kind of Orson and Nathan know like I'm worthy of the position that they put me in. I used to box growing up, and I boxed for about 4 years, like pretty seriously, and then I just kind of kept it up. I'm of a level of athleticism in terms of that. So to an extent, if it's not, I'd say like if it's not high kicks or spinning low kicks or like the crazy stuff, anything else, spinning back fists, elbows, knees, I can throw them pretty well, you know, because I do a bit of that stuff back home and in the gym here. So it was just a case of having a little bit of an artillery luckily, and then working with the stunt guys and finding what actually worked. And I've actually seen them scenes back, they do work. They're serious, you know. So, yeah. I was just excited to punch something. So I just kind of got involved, and it's a really creative process, the way the guys build the fight scenes. Everybody just kind of gets involved until they figure out the end result. So I just kind of got involved there and started demonstrating a few little movements just to see what Guy liked and see what they thought I looked good doing. And we found it, you know.
Well, I think the best way to describe this film is just pure adrenaline. I mean, the energy of the film is really dictated by Guy's energy. And Guy is just, I mean, there's no end to it. He's extraordinary. He has the energy of a teenager. And I think you can see that in his work, you know. I mean, if you're flipping the channel on television and all you need to see is 3 or 4 frames of anything that's on, and you know instantly that you're watching a Guy Ritchie movie. And that's because he has a very unique voice and a unique style of filmmaking. And there's no one like him. There's just no one like him. There are people who try very hard to be like him, but there's only one Guy Ritchie. Well, I can say that without a doubt that this is the greatest experience I've ever had making a film in my whole career. You know, and there've been some wonderful experiences I've had on other movies, but nothing compares to this one. And I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier about Guy and his energy and his passion and his attention to detail. I mean, his canvases are very large, but the detail on that canvas is extraordinary. I mean, his focus is on everything. That nothing misses his eye. I mean, for instance, he'll come up and check my tie before we go on camera. I haven't experienced that since working with, you know, people like Coppola, you know, who have that kind of attention to detail. And yeah, he's so joyful, and he can do everything. Sometimes he'll act out the scene for all the actors and do all the parts. And, you know, obviously he knows where the camera goes, he knows about editing, he knows about lighting, he knows about costume, he knows about sound, all of it. There's not one part of the film, that the finished product that you're going to see, that he hasn't paid attention to. Not one part of it. And it's fascinating to watch. I've never seen anyone with that kind of laser focus. And he's able to do it really quickly. I mean, because his mind works very fast. Well, I have a little bit of a notion about spying. My grandfather was a spy during World War II, and so he shared some stories with me. For instance, how to throw the enemy off the scent by checking into a hotel and having a whole other life, another character that checks into a hotel that doesn't exist, and making sure that whoever's following you or tailing you believes that that person is actually in that hotel. So room service and laundry, dry cleaning, that kind of thing. It's all kept up so that the enemy will be fooled into paying attention to that person, not what you're actually doing. You know, that kind of thing. I think audiences can expect pure adrenaline. I mean, that's just Guy Ritchie. He is pure adrenaline, you know, and you get swept up in his passion. It's very easy to be. He's terribly charming and incredibly funny, and he creates that atmosphere on the set that is just, I think, incredibly conducive to creativity, because he's so relaxed, and he makes sure that you're very relaxed, and you know, he has this fabulous key crew of people that have worked with him since the beginning, and they just adore him. They'll do anything for him, and so it's a very warm atmosphere on the set. Yeah, great fun. Well, I'd obviously followed Jason's work, like most people, and admired him for his talent, and he turned out to be just as lovely and sweet and giving as I'd heard he was, because I spoke to some actors, and we actually ended up having some mutual friends, which was nice. And so yeah, he's terrific and very giving and very funny. I think people are going to see another side to Jason in this movie, where you see his sense of humor, because he's very, very funny. And I think Guy wanted to explore that more with this character.
We had an idea about a spy film about 8 months ago. Oh no, maybe more actually. I don't know. And from that premise, we watched every action spy film we could get our hands on, and worked out the plots. I wrote this first scene about 6 months ago, I think. And once I wrote the scene, I knew what the tone was for the film, and I liked that tone. And up until then, I couldn't see how I was going to make this film. So once I wrote this, it influenced all the other scenes in the film, and then I knew what I was going to do. I think the set's brilliant, and it was the right idea, and the answer was to build it. It's very much about, if you find people that you like and correspond with, then why not do it again? I think by and large everyone's had a lovely time in Turkey, which is another thing. And the more people are on the same frequency, then the more fun the whole process is, and the easier it is. So much of scenes is about, and dialogue is about a rhythm, and whether that rhythm, they understand the rhythm, your filmmaker understands the rhythm, and really the film is rhythmical, but in scenes. So if you listen to this one, it was, when we started cobbling it together, there was no rhythm initially, it was just a structure. And then after 5 minutes, you're starting to find a rhythm. After 15 minutes, you go da 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 da, and it sort of works. And unless scenes find a rhythm for me, they feel hollow.
I don't think this project was different in terms of working with guys. It is an interesting process. It's not classic. You know, the classic way of making a film is you have a script and you learn it, and then you turn up and you shoot it. And you might make little adjustments script-wise, but they've been quite minor. With this, there's a sort of template script that is then largely thrown out of the window when you get to the set to shoot it. And the scene is kind of devised there and then with the actors and Guy. So for someone like me, it's both slightly alarming, particularly if you suddenly have a lot of lines that you haven't been able to learn because they're brand new, but also quite exhilarating. I quite like improvising, is the truth. So I play someone called Greg Simmons, who's a billionaire arms dealer who is motivated in life, well, by money. He loves money. But he's also one of those billionaires who's come to regard himself as a good man, despite the fact that he sells arms all over the world. He even has a charity for war orphans in a sort of delicious irony. And he thinks he has values, and he loves life, really, people and the people around him, his team. Big enthusiasm for everything, really, because I think it's important. You've got to quite enjoy your character, and I quite enjoy being Greg. Now, almost every actor prefers being a bad guy, I think. I don't know why. They're more fun. They're more delicious. I think they can expect the usual Guy Ritchie pleasures. Stylish. It will look amazing. It'll be snappy, it'll be funny, it'll be thrilling, and in this case it'll also have a lot of action, because you know we have Jason and a lot of significant action sequences. Yeah, so I had never done anything with Jason before. I didn't know him, and I've come to really admire him. He's a nice guy. He knows who he is, and knows what he likes and knows what he's good at, and he's really good at it. I've started watching little clips of his films when I have insomnia. They're brilliant. So I've loved doing stuff with him. I get on very well with Josh Hartnett. We had a big drunken night out in New York some years ago, and it was nice to see him again after that. And Aubrey's a laugh, and yeah, I mean, then there's an amazing cast of other characters, a lot of really good Brit actors. So it's been great.
What drew me to the project is Guy. I mean, we did a film last year as well, and he called me September or something and said he was writing another one, and he had a role for me, Danny Francesco, and I said, yeah, I'd love to come back and play again. It's making fun of all the tropes of James Bond films, but also kind of giving the action and the comedy and all of that making that front and center, and not worrying about all the kind of ridiculous tropes that are used in those films. I love working with Jason. And again, we worked on the last one, and Jason is a gentleman, and he's a very, like, it's hard to explain to someone who doesn't know him beyond his persona, because he's just such an easygoing, nice guy. He's in it to have a good time, and he's professional, and he's gracious, and he's funny, and I've thoroughly enjoyed working with him both times. Danny Francesco is an actor, very well-known actor, who is beloved but misunderstood because he's living a bit of a double life, as a lot of actors are, I think, where in the persona that he's known for in the business and outside of the business is not, it sort of hides the darker aspects of his character. When we find him, he's been having an affair with his sister-in-law, and that is the dirt that Jason's character Orson has on him in order to get him to join this mission. And Danny has he's like a lot of actors, I think, he's attracted to power and becomes a bit obsessed with Hugh Grant's character, who is an arms dealer. So his sort of moral compass might be a little not particularly worried about these sort of things, just enamored with the person who's seemingly the biggest, toughest person in the room. And Danny wants to embody that, you know? He wants to be that himself. But he's a little bit of a scaredy cat. Well, Danny, I think he gets on with everybody in the movie because it's not his world, and he's very much in charge of his own world. And then when he's brought outside of it into this world of international espionage, he feels out of his depth, but he's studying, you know? He wants to bring back something to use it for a film role or to kind of better himself and take himself out of the world that he's been in. I think Danny's he's looking for a new adventure, and he finds it with these guys.
Hugh is fun. And it really is one of those where you don't know, because you prepare separately, right? And then you come into a scenario where the preparation is really just kind of the back of your head, because the way Guy works is that everything is really in the moment. It's kind of chiseled into place on the set. And so you can prep how you want, and then Hugh preps how he wants. And I didn't really realize the dynamic we were going to have until we got put together in our first scene on the yacht. He's a very definitive filmmaker in the way that, you know, people have certain styles and they're known for a certain kind of film. Although he's been keeping us guessing, you know, the past 10 years with his switches of genre. But I think what I really like about Guy is that he is so authentic he almost has a sixth sense. You have to be on the same frequency as him, because he has a sixth sense about what rings true. And the truth can go any which way, but it doesn't matter which way the truth goes, because he's clear about what he wants. So you go there, which is fun, because quite often, you know, the normal filmmaking is you get the script, everyone prepares, and everyone's on the page that was made from the very beginning. This one is like, it might be that, it might not be that, but it might be so much more. People are nice, you know. You kind of always trust a director whose team has been there for many films. It means he's doing something right because he treats his people well. And you always trust that. And because everyone around you is really comfortable. Because at first it can be quite daunting, you know, especially when there are actors who've worked with him. So it is a kind of brotherhood, you know, there's history between them. So you always feel like, oh, new kid on the block, so let me just, you know, keep my head down and you know, insert myself in there. But because they're so warm and friendly, and, you know, you're just comfortable. You feel very free to do your job. Good people trying to do bad things and bad people trying to do good things. And both sides are trying to outfun each other. Amelia's job is to protect Greg Simmons, Hugh's character, in every way she can. Sometimes that means protecting him from himself. But I think I have this thing in my head about her that I read this line before, and I think that perfectly encapsulates Emilia, which is that there's nothing more scary than a woman who is focused and unimpressed. And so far in this film, she hasn't smiled at all. You know, so I feel like, and that's part of the foil for everything that Hugh can do, because it's just, you know, it's really hard to not smile when he's riffing, Hugh. Because he goes off piece and you're laughing from deep inside and it wants to come out and you can't, because in character it's just like withering the whole time, you know. But yeah, no, I have a lot of fun with her. So, well, Jason and I only had the one scene in the whole film, but he's so lovely. And also because we had mutual friends who he's worked with before, who's worked with Guy before. But I did ask them, and you know, I was like, oh, you know, what's it like, and to help me get an idea of what I'm in for. And then they said, oh yeah, I'll tell Jace, you know, to look after you. And then I went on set, and then sure enough, he was just like, oh, you know. So he knew me, knew of me, and no, he's just a lovely guy. Yeah, he's a lovely guy. You know, he's so good at what he does. And to actually see it and then to be acting beside them, you're just like, oh, mate, yes, I'm in the right place. But yeah, I wish we had more to do, but it's just in the film, it's the nature of it.
I was drawn to the project because I wanted to work with Guy. I met Guy 24 years ago on his first sort of main project, and then again in 99 on his second, and neither prevailed. And so when this opportunity came around, I was delighted to jump on board. Working with Guy is interesting. It's kind of like, it's a very different experience from any other film experience I've had before. The best analogy I think I could give you is if you were in the Miles Davis quintet and Miles called you and said, I'm going to do a gig on Friday and it's going to be a sextet. I want you to bring your vibraphone and be in the band, and we're going to open up with Stella by Starlight. You would get on stage with the vibraphone and Miles would shout over, actually, we're going to do All the Things You Are, or no, Cherokee at this tempo, 1, 2, 2, 2, and you're going to lead the solos in 5, 4, 3, 2. So that's what it's like working with him, but it's brilliant because it's another tool that I think actors should have. I like that, you know, impulsive nuance, and he's got a very sharp mind, and it's great for us to keep on reinventing the wheel. You've got to be on your toes with him, there's no doubt about that. He does push you, you know. Bugsy's great. Bugsy's great. It's been a pleasure meeting him. You know, he's a Manchester boy as well, and he's from Crumpsall. And I didn't know much of his work before this at all. And then my friends back in the UK are like, "Oh, we love him. He's the governor," and he's a very, very sharp guy, you know. And he just tells me what he's reading, and I'm like, yeah, different, man. He's reading different things. He's reading about Napoleon, he's reading about different leaders, and he's putting that into his work, and that's probably why he's a cut above the rest, you know. And he's a Manchester kid, so he's lovely. He's a very nice lad. And it's only his second film, and it's amazing that he's dropped in so well, because and I think that because of that, because it is only his second film and he's not perhaps spent, you know, 8 to 12 years learning specific things and technique and this and that, that's maybe why he's good. I think, you know, technique can sometimes screw an actor up. It can geld the natural nuance of someone's work, if you like, you know. So yeah, it's brilliant that he's in both pictures. So I play Ben Harris, who is the consigliere to Hugh's character, and Hugh plays Greg Simmons, Hugh Grant, of course. And Ben is, he's a broker really for most of the deals that go down for Mr. Simmons. And he's a Machiavellian type character, quite voracious, quite tenacious, and he's quite quiet. He's a reader of things, but it's funny because I said to Guy at one point, I was like, I think he's quite serious physically. I think he could do some damage. And Guy's like, no, he's a lawyer. There's going to be no fights. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you're actually right. You know what I mean? So that his power's here, and he brokers all of the deals for Greg, and he knows that the dark side of the world very well. So yeah, it's been nice playing that, and Hugh's just been fantastic to watch work. You know, when he's working, he's excellent, and very generous and very kind and nice. So that's been great. And yeah, that's about it really with Ben Harris. I mean, Guy's been very gracious as well. We've thrown a lot of extra stuff in there, you know. I think that the audiences can expect much of what they would expect from a Guy Ritchie movie, which is high octane, high energy, pastiches, colours. I liken his films to, like, there's a celebration in India, isn't there, where it's coloured, powdered paint, and I feel like most of Guy's films they're so rich in these pastiches of colours, and this is that with this specific genre that we're in, with a world of, you know, billionaire tech people and double dealing and secret agents and this and that and luxurious locations. So it's a lot of fun with some narrative there as well, obviously. Otherwise you wouldn't